They were already staring at him before he said a single word. A black father in a worn jacket, standing in a courtroom where mercy was never meant for men who looked like him. His hands were shaking, not because he was guilty, but because his 5-year-old daughter was sitting behind him, struggling to breathe, and everyone in that room knew he had stolen medicine to save her life. The law didn't see desperation. It only saw a black man who had crossed a line. Just as the judge raised her gavel to end everything, the child stood up, small, fragile, afraid, but unbreakable. Her voice cut through the room like a blade, making grown adults freeze in their seats. Laughter turned into silence. Judgment turned into fear. And in that moment, one impossible promise was made, one that would shake a courtroom, expose buried prejudice, and lead to something no one could ever explain. Stay with this story, because what happens next will challenge everything you believe about justice, race, and miracles. The first thing people noticed about Marcus Reed wasn't what he did. It was who he was. A black man in a faded work jacket, calloused hands, eyes tired from too many nights without sleep. Standing in the middle of Franklin County Courthouse, he already felt convicted before a single word was spoken. They didn't see a father. They saw a headline. Marcus kept his shoulders straight anyway. He had learned early that if you slouched, people assumed guilt. If you spoke too softly, they thought you were lying. If you spoke too firmly, they said you were aggressive. There was no winning, only surviving. Across the room, his 5-year-old daughter, Ava Reed, sat beside an elderly woman, her feet dangling above the floor. Ava's skin was the color of warm brown sugar. Her hair was tied into 2 uneven puffs, done in a rush that morning because her dad's hands still weren't good with hair ties. She hugged a worn stuffed rabbit to her chest, the one Marcus bought her at a thrift store years ago. Ava was sick again. Her breathing had been shallow all morning. Every cough sounded like it was scraping her lungs from the inside. Marcus felt it in his chest each time she struggled for air, like his own lungs were collapsing with hers. That's why he was here. 3 nights earlier, Ava had burned with fever, the kind that makes a parent panic in silence because you already know you don't have enough money. The inhaler was empty. The medicine was gone. His paycheck wouldn't come for another week. Marcus had stood in Greenway Pharmacy on Oak Street, staring at shelves full of things that could save his daughter's life, things that might as well have been locked behind glass. He remembered the way the cashier's smile faded when she noticed his skin color, the way the security guard's eyes followed him too closely, the way his hands shook when he slipped the medicine into his jacket. He remembered thinking, "I'll pay it back. I swear I will." He never made it to the door. Now the prosecutor stood confidently at the front of the courtroom, his voice smooth and practiced. "This case is simple," Ethan Caldwell said, adjusting his tie. "The defendant stole prescription medication valued over $100. Intent does not erase the crime." Marcus stared at the table. Intent doesn't erase the crime. But intent is everything when you're trying to keep a child alive. His public defender, Megan Porter, did her best. She spoke about Marcus's clean record, his full-time labor job, his role as a devoted single father. She talked about impossible choices and broken systems. But Marcus could feel it. The room had already decided. Whispers rippled through the benches. If it were anyone else, why didn't he just ask for help? They always have an excuse. Marcus clenched his fists. He had asked. He had begged. Banks didn't care. Employers didn't care. Systems were built to watch men like him fall and call it fairness. At the center of it all sat Judge Eleanor Hayes. White hair pulled back neatly, expression controlled, her wheelchair positioned squarely behind the bench. 3 years earlier, a car accident had taken her ability to walk. Since then, people said she'd become colder, sharper, unmoved by stories. Marcus didn't blame her. Pain did that to people. When Judge Hayes lifted her gavel, Marcus's stomach dropped. This was it. Jail. Foster care. Ava alone. Before the judge could speak, a small voice cut through the tension. "Daddy?" Marcus looked up just as Ava slipped free from the woman beside her. Gasps echoed as the little girl walked forward, slow, determined, dragging her stuffed rabbit behind her. Her shoes squeaked against the polished floor. Every step felt louder than thunder. "Ava, baby," Marcus whispered, panic rising. The bailiff moved to stop her, but Judge Hayes raised a hand. "Let her come," the judge said quietly. Ava stopped a few feet from the bench. She looked up at the woman in the wheelchair, her wide, dark eyes curious, not afraid. "You're the judge," Ava said. Judge Hayes nodded. "I am." Ava took a deep breath. Her chest rattled softly when she inhaled. "My daddy is not a bad man," she said clearly. "He just loves me." The courtroom went still. "He only took the medicine because I couldn't breathe," Ava continued. "When I can't breathe, I get really scared. Daddy gets scared too, but he stays strong for me." Someone laughed under their breath. Another voice whispered, "She doesn't understand." Ava's small hands tightened into fists. She glanced back at her father, then looked at the judge again. "If you let my daddy go home," she said, her voice steady, "I will help you walk again." The reaction was instant. Laughter, murmurs, shaking heads. Even Marcus froze. "Help you walk again?" Judge Hayes didn't laugh. She leaned forward slightly, eyes locked on the child. "That's a serious promise," the judge said. Ava nodded. "I don't break promises." Ethan Caldwell shot to his feet. "Your Honor, this is inappropriate. The child is clearly confused." "Sit down," Judge Hayes said sharply. The room fell silent. Marcus's heart pounded so hard he thought it might break through his ribs. He wanted to pull Ava back, apologize, disappear. Black children weren't allowed mistakes in rooms like this. Innocence didn't protect them. Judge Hayes studied Ava for a long moment. "And how exactly would you do that?" she asked. Ava walked closer to the bench. She reached out, not touching yet, just close enough. "Because your legs aren't broken," Ava said softly. "They're just tired. Like when people get sad for a really long time." Something flickered across the judge's face. Hope, anger, fear. The courtroom held its breath. Marcus felt tears sting his eyes, not because of the promise, but because his daughter saw pain in others, the way the world never saw pain in them. Judge Hayes straightened slowly. "Mr. Reed," she said at last, "you have committed a crime." Marcus nodded. "Yes, ma'am. But this court," she continued, "will postpone sentencing for 30 days. Gasps erupted. "If within that time," the judge said, eyes still on Ava, "this promise is fulfilled, all charges will be dismissed." Ethan Caldwell protested loudly. "This is highly irregular." "So is the world we live in," Judge Hayes replied. Marcus couldn't speak. Ava ran back to him, wrapping her arms around his neck. "We're going home, Daddy," she whispered. But Marcus heard the unspoken truth. 30 days, one promise, and a system waiting for them to fail. As they left the courtroom, eyes followed them. Not with kindness, but curiosity, doubt, suspicion. A black man given mercy, a black child who dared to hope, and somewhere between disbelief and fear, something dangerous had begun, a challenge to everything people thought they knew. Now, before we continue, this is where I want to hear from you. Be honest with yourself. Do you think the court would have reacted the same way if Marcus wasn't a black father? Yes or no? Answer in your heart. Because what happens next will force everyone in that courtroom and everyone watching to confront their own beliefs. The city didn't forget what happened in that courtroom. By the next morning, Marcus Reed's face was everywhere, on local news screens, on phones, in quiet conversations that stopped the moment he walked by. Some people called it mercy, others called it madness, most called it a mistake. Marcus felt it the second he stepped outside their apartment building in East Briarwood. The way a woman clutched her purse tighter when she saw him, the way a man muttered, "Figures," under his breath, the way a police cruiser slowed just a little too much before moving on. A black man didn't get second chances in America. Not like that. Ava, however, noticed none of it. She skipped down the cracked sidewalk, her stuffed rabbit tucked under her arm, humming softly. Every few steps she stopped to catch her breath, small hands braced against her knees. Marcus watched her closely, fear never leaving his chest. That night in the courtroom had cost her strength. He could see it now. "Ava," he said gently, kneeling beside her, "you don't have to prove anything, okay?" She looked at him, eyes serious in a way no 5-year-olds should be. "I already did," she said. Marcus swallowed. "Sweetheart, what if you can't do what you promised?" Ava reached up and touched his cheek. Her palm was warm, steady. "Daddy," she whispered, "do you remember when Grandma used to say love gets tired before bodies do?" Marcus closed his eyes. His mother used to say that when the world pressed down too hard, before she passed, before everything became survival. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He sat at the small kitchen table, staring at the folded court papers. 30 days, one promise, a system that would happily snap shut the moment Ava failed. Across town, Judge Eleanor Hayes lay awake too. Her house was quiet, too quiet, no laughter, no footsteps, no life. Just the soft hum of the wheelchair charger by her bed. She replayed Ava's words again and again. "Your legs aren't broken, they're just tired." Doctors had told her she would never walk again. Friends had stopped inviting her places. Colleagues treated her like porcelain, careful, distant. She had learned to bury hope because hope hurt. And yet, something about that little black girl had cracked the wall she'd built around herself. The next morning, Judge Hayes canceled 2 meetings. By noon, she did something she hadn't done in 3 years. She called Marcus Reed. When his phone rang, Marcus nearly dropped it. "Mr. Reed," Judge Hayes said calmly, "this is Judge Hayes." Marcus stood up straight instinctively, as if she could see him. "Yes, Your Honor." "I want to speak with Ava." Marcus hesitated. Every instinct screamed danger. Systems didn't call black fathers to help them, but Ava was already tugging his sleeve. "It's okay, Daddy." "Hello, Judge Lady," Ava said brightly into the phone. Judge Hayes felt something twist in her chest. "Hello, Ava," she replied. "I was wondering how exactly you plan to help me." Ava didn't hesitate. "We have to be friends first." Friends. No one had asked Judge Hayes for friendship in years. "Where would you like to meet?" the judge asked quietly. "The park," Ava said. "The one with the ducks." 2 days later, Maplewood Community Park held an unlikely meeting. Judge Hayes rolled toward the pond in a simple blue sweater, no robe, no title. Marcus stood nearby, arms crossed protectively. Ava sat on the grass, feeding breadcrumbs to ducks that quacked impatiently at her feet. For the first time in years, Judge Hayes laughed. A real laugh, loud, uncontrolled. She hadn't realized how long it had been. Ava talked nonstop, about school, about her rabbit, about how ducks argued like people but forgave faster. Judge Hayes listened, really listened, as if each word mattered. At one point, Ava stood and started moving her arms in wide circles. "I'm dancing," she announced. Judge Hayes smiled sadly. "I used to dance too." Ava stopped. "You still can." "I can't stand," the judge said gently. "You don't have to," Ava replied. "Dancing starts here." She tapped the judge's chest. Something shifted. Judge Hayes lifted her arms, slowly, awkwardly, but she followed Ava's movements. And for a moment, just a moment, she forgot the chair beneath her, forgot the accident, forgot the loss. She felt alive. Across the park, a few people stared. A black child leading a white judge in a wheelchair. Laughing, free, phones came out, videos were taken. That night, the internet exploded. Some called it beautiful, others called it staged. A comment went viral. They'd never do this for a black man if his kid wasn't special. Marcus read every word, each one cut deeper than the last. By the end of the week, things got worse. Judge Hayes collapsed near the pond after her wheelchair tipped on uneven ground. She hit her head hard. Sirens screamed through Maplewood Park. Marcus arrived at St. Anne's Medical Center with Ava clutching his hand. Doctors whispered. The word concussion echoed like a sentence. If the judge didn't recover, the deal was over. And in the waiting room, eyes turned toward Marcus again. A black man, a child who made a promise. A system waiting to say, "We told you so." Dr. Nathan Brooks stepped forward, exhaustion written across his face. "She's unconscious," he said. "The next 24 hours are critical." Ava looked up at him calmly. "Can I see her?" "No," the doctor replied. "Absolutely not." Ava didn't cry, didn't beg. "She's scared," Ava said. Her spirit got lost again. The room went silent. Marcus felt every stare land on them. "Please," Ava said softly. "She needs me." Something unexpected happened. Ethan Caldwell, the prosecutor, stepped forward. "Doctor," he said quietly, "if she doesn't wake up, what harm does 5 minutes do?" Marcus stared at him in disbelief. Dr. Brooks hesitated. Logic fought instinct. Finally, he sighed. 5 minutes. Inside the ICU, machines beeped steadily. Judge Hayes lay still, pale, fragile. Ava climbed onto a chair beside the bed. "Judge lady," she whispered. "I'm here." She placed her small hand on the judge's arm. "You got scared again," Ava said. "But it's okay. I'll help you find your way back." The monitor beeped faster. Marcus held his breath. The doctor leaned forward. "Her heart rate is stabilizing," he murmured. Ava closed her eyes. "You're not done dancing yet," she whispered. Judge Hayes' fingers twitched. A gasp ripped through the room. Her eyes fluttered open. And in that moment, the impossible became unavoidable. Because something had begun that medicine couldn't explain, and prejudice couldn't silence. Judge Eleanor Hayes woke up to the sound of machines breathing for her. At first, she thought she was still dreaming. There was warmth in her chest. Not pain, not fear. Warmth, like sunlight breaking through a long winter. Her eyelids fluttered, heavy, reluctant, and then slowly the world came back into focus. White ceiling, hospital lights, the steady beep of a monitor. And then she saw Ava Reed. The little girl stood beside her bed, small hands resting gently on the blanket, her dark eyes calm and steady. Not frightened, not confused, certain. "You came back," Ava said softly. Eleanor swallowed. Her throat felt dry. "I heard you," she whispered. "I was lost." Ava smiled. "I know, but you remembered the way." Around them, the room was frozen. Dr. Nathan Brooks stared at the monitor, his brow furrowed. "Her vitals are stabilizing," he murmured. "This doesn't make sense." Marcus Reed stood near the doorway, afraid to move, afraid to breathe. He had lived his whole life knowing how quickly hope could be taken away from a black man. He wasn't ready to believe yet. Eleanor shifted slightly and froze. She felt something. Not pain, not pressure, feeling. "My legs," she said, voice trembling. "Doctor, I can feel my legs." Dr. Brooks shook his head slowly. "That's not possible." Eleanor closed her eyes and concentrated. Her right foot moved. Just a little, but it moved. The room exploded into gasps. Dr. Brooks stepped closer, checking again, running test after test. His hands shook as he spoke. This defies everything we know." Eleanor looked at Ava, tears sliding down her temples. "You didn't heal me," she said. "You reminded me." Ava nodded. "You did the rest." News spread fast, too fast. By morning, reporters crowded the hospital entrance. Some called it a miracle. Others called it fake. Social media filled with arguments that had nothing to do with healing and everything to do with race. A black child couldn't be the reason something good happened. Not without suspicion, not without backlash. Eleanor watched the footage from her hospital bed, commentators debating whether she had lost objectivity, strangers questioning her judgment, some accusing her of favoritism. She turned off the TV. 3 days later, she requested her wheelchair, and then slowly, painfully, she stood. Cameras were not allowed inside. This wasn't for them. Marcus was there, holding Ava close. His hands trembled as he watched the woman who had once held his fate rise on unsteady legs. "You gave me something back," Eleanor said to him. "And I almost didn't deserve it." Marcus shook his head. "You listened." That was everything. 2 weeks later, Franklin County Courthouse filled again. This time the room felt different. When Judge Eleanor Hayes entered, walking with a cane, the courtroom stood in stunned silence. Then slowly, applause began. Not polite, not forced, real. Marcus held Ava's hand tightly. She wore a simple yellow dress. She looked small in a room built to make people feel powerless. Eleanor took her seat behind the bench. "Mr. Marcus Reed," she said clearly, "please stand." Marcus did. "For the record," Eleanor continued, "all charges against you are hereby dismissed." A breath Marcus had been holding for weeks finally escaped him. But Eleanor wasn't finished. This court recognizes that the law does not exist in a vacuum, she said, and when systems fail to protect the most vulnerable, it is not justice, it is neglect. She looked directly at Marcus. I am also recommending Mr. Reed for a supervisory position with full benefits at St. Anne's Medical Center. Gasps rippled through the room. A black man receiving opportunity, not pity. Eleanor turned to the courtroom. And let this be clear, mercy is not weakness, compassion is not bias, and a child's truth should never be dismissed because of the color of her skin. Silence followed, the heavy kind. Later that day, outside the courthouse, Ava tugged at her father's sleeve. Daddy, why were people crying? Marcus smiled through tears. Because sometimes people forget what really matters, and then they remember. Life didn't magically become perfect. Marcus still faced looks. Ava still faced questions. The world didn't suddenly become fair, but something had changed. Eleanor returned to the bench stronger, not just in body but in purpose. She used her voice to push for alternatives, for context, for humanity. 6 months later, she danced at her wedding, slowly, carefully, but freely. In the front row, Marcus and Ava watched. Ava leaned over and whispered, Daddy? Yes, baby? Do you think people will stop judging now? Marcus thought for a moment. No, but I think some of them will think twice. Ava smiled. That's enough. Because the real miracle wasn't walking, it was seeing. Seeing a black father as a father. Seeing a black child as powerful, not disposable. Seeing that love, when it refuses to be quiet, can change lives. Now I want to hear from you. How did this story make you feel? Did it move you? Do you think moments like this can really change how people see race and justice? If you believe stories like this matter, comment 111 below. Tell us what country you're watching from. And if this story touched you even a little, please share it.